Hello, it's David Mooney here from the Blue Moon podcast. Been asked to give you a bit of a lowdown on Kalvin Phillips, which is slightly difficult because I don't really have an awful lot to say about Kalvin Phillips. He's not really featured for City in the 2 years that he's been at the club. I think in terms of a move, let's start there. That seems like the best place to start. It feels like a good move for him and a good move for Ipswich and a good move for City, really. City kind of need him off the books. They need to move him on at some point. He's on a long contract, and the kind of the time he's had over the last couple of years, they're probably not going to get a buyer for him. Certainly not with any value at this stage. So a season-long loan probably suits City quite well. Puts him in the shop window and kind of gives him the chance to increase his stock. For Ipswich, it's a good signing. It's a player who has Premier League experience and can hopefully help you guys stay in the top flight. And then for him, it's a chance for him to get his career back on the rails because he's had a torrid time at City, and I think there's probably through not a huge fault of his own, really. Ultimately, he's not been good enough for City. City have they obviously have a way of playing, and Rodri is so key to the way that they play. It's really difficult to come in and just be the backup to Rodri or just be the player that replaces Rodri when he's not available. So you kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place when you are the other holding midfielder in the squad. And at the same time, Phillips, when he was in the team and when he was given the opportunities, didn't really show an awful lot that he was up to the level that City wanted or needed. And the story is that, you know, they signed him for big money a couple of years ago, thinking they were going to get one type of player. And in the end, he wasn't that type of player. And then Guardiola had a look at him in training, and from the limited games that he had an injury when he started at City as well. That didn't help his cause. But all of that combined, and you know, after Guardiola had been able to see, you know, what Phillips was about, he just didn't really fit in what City wanted, and he just didn't really have the skills that City wanted from a player in his position. And that doesn't mean that it won't work for him elsewhere. It doesn't mean that he won't be good at another team. But what it does mean is that he had limited options at City. There was a week where Rodri was sent off, I think last season, where City played Newcastle away in the League Cup. They then played Wolves away in the Premier League, and then Arsenal away in the Premier League. And Phillips gave an interview where he said this was the biggest week of his career. And in the end, he played one of 3 games. And that just kind of shows where City were at with him at that time. He didn't do well in the Newcastle game. He was always going to play that one, whether Rodri was suspended or not. And then when he was suspended for the Wolves and the Arsenal game, you know, City tried other options there. Instead, they tried, I think, Matthias Nunes at Wolves, which didn't really work. And then a combination of, I think, Rico Lewis and Mateo Kovacic at Arsenal and just tried to kind of gum up the middle. And when you look at where that leaves Phillips as an option in City's squad, it's just perfectly obvious that Guardiola didn't trust him and didn't think he was up to the job. Now, for him as a player, I can't imagine kind of what that does on a mental level. You look at the pre-season that they've had, that City have just been on the tour of the USA. Phillips was playing centre back, and it was a scratch team that City took to the USA. They took a load of youngsters: Erling Haaland, Jack Grealish, and Kalvin Phillips, and with Phillips ending up at centre back, then you kind of say, well, if he's not even getting in the team in a holding midfield role in this instance, like it's clear he's just never going to cut it for Guardiola and for City. Now, I must admit to having reservations when he first signed for City. I did worry that he wasn't going to be the sort of player that City needed. When watching him in a City shirt, he didn't really show for the ball in the way that I think City needed. You watch what Rodri does when he gets into those positions. He's always there as an option to take the ball under pressure. And Phillips, it felt like a number of times Phillips would be that and then suddenly not be there for the next pass, and kind of it's almost as if he'd play the ball and not realise what he had to do next. And I think, you know, you take him out of a team that has so much positional play and has so much, you know, possession play. it gives him the opportunity to excel, I think, a little bit more, because it shows off what his qualities are. It shows off his battling qualities. It shows off his ability to tackle and get the ball back, and be the kind of strong, solid holding midfielder. So in terms of a signing for Ipswich Town, it probably suits all parties, and it gives you guys a real opportunity of staying up, I think. As you know, when you kind of look further forward, his career at City is over, and City are looking to move him on. This probably suits all parties.